Hey guys, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Katie Tobey. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right, Katie, it's welcome. How are you doing today?
doing good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So, can you just tell us what is your Myers-Briggs personality type?
ESTJ,
And are you the standard ESTJ or are you the jumper type?
standard.
Standard, okay. And then can you just let us know what your animal stack is?
I am blast, sleep, consume with play last.
Blast, sleep, consume, and play last. And what about your sexual modalities?
Double feminine.
Double feminine. All right. So why don't we just jump in? So I want to talk about your sexual modalities first because I think that's so fascinating. Because when people think of ESTJs, they think of someone that's kind of like the like Judge Judy,
Yeah,
I'm here
yeah.
to set the rules and you're gonna follow my rules. But then you're double feminine. So how does that come across then? Is it very different?
Well, that's part of why I had trouble finding myself in the Myers-Briggs, because I didn't identify with those descriptions at all. I find myself being more movable with the tribe. I listen more to what their reasons are, and I find myself being influenced by them quite a bit. Um, and even with my I do have my ideas of how things should be, but I'm willing to move it to a different way as long as there still is a way that things should be. It doesn't have to be my way as long as there is a plan.
And are you a self above tribe or tribe above self?
Tribe above self, TE.
Right, exactly. I forgot. Yeah, right. You're ESTJ, so obviously you're going to be a big time tribe above self. Um, Now, what about your NE? You have masculine extrovert intuition. So how does that play into things?
Well, one of the things I notice is when I come across a new concept, I have a tendency to just run with it. It kind of sweeps me away. And it might take a day or two before the reasons and the sensing catch up and pull me back in. I don't have a lot of control over that, I don't feel like. Um, and I don't feel like I can trust it very well.
So you don't trust your intuition, is what you're saying.
Not very much. No. I trust like what I feel is going on in a social setting. I can feel that, but I don't consider that to be part of the intuition. The more of seeing what might happen in the future, how things might play out. I don't trust myself to figure that out very well at all. So I have a lot of anxiety over the future.
So you're pessimistic at what's going to happen.
I do tend to be, yes. There's a storm cloud on the horizon all the time.
Now, you mentioned when I was reading one of your Facebook comments, I thought it was so fascinating because I've never heard anyone talk about this before. And you said that you can tell something is wrong whenever you interact with someone based on kind of like the physical feelings that they give you. So, for example, someone doesn't shake your hand longer than usual or doesn't give you a hug longer than usual, then you know
Uh,
something is wrong, but you don't know what's wrong, essentially.
right, right. I can see it changed, and I can know the person well enough to have a guess of what that means their state of mind is, but I have a harder time than guessing why is their state of mind that way. Um, yeah,
So you can tell if they are upset
yes.
or if they're excited about something, for example, but you can't tell what it is. You just know
Not
that it's there.
not as quickly. That has to take more reasoning to figure out. But I know immediately something changed.
Now, you said not immediately. So given enough time and without that person kind of spoiling to you what changed, can you kind of guess what happened if given enough time?
Given enough information, yes. I mean, I can connect the dots, but I have a hard time filling in the dots that are missing, basically.
So how many dots do you need to kind of get that
Um,
full picture?
well, it depends on how well I know the person, right? So in college, I used to text a couple of friends on a daily basis. And I could tell from how they said hello what their mood was.
Oh
Did
my
they
God.
hi, hello? Did they use a period? I had pretty good success rate with that. I could tell, and I knew enough about their lives to guess, oh, well, it's probably this issue that they've had before. It might be that it's come up again. But maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I'd have to dig more to find out. So that's kind of what I mean, but on a larger scale.
I think that's so amazing. I've just never heard of anyone, have this kind of, it's like a weird, introvert sensing and extrovert intuition combination here. Like you can kind of see intuitively what's happening, but it's based on concrete facts, like like you said, it's like the how they said hello or hey, or if they add a period, maybe, I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's,
I think it goes back to the double feminine. That's called the tester learning modality. And I think it's kind of like the physical touch. And I feel like I have my finger on the pulse of what's going on. And I can sense those changes then. As the world is moving around me, I can sense that. But it's not really the same thing as an intuitive sense. And it's not, I'm not a feeler. Emotions are still a bit of a mystery. But I can tell things are shifting and changing, that the stress in the room is changing, things like that.
So do you feel it, or what how do you notice it?
No, it's more something outside of me that I'm seeing. And then I may have an emotional reaction to that. I may get stressed because I can tell, this person is, getting worked up. This isn't going to end well. But I'm not feeling what they're feeling.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I want to talk about your introvert feeling then, since we're on this topic already. You have masculine introverted feeling. That means
Yeah.
you're pretty solid with your identity, but yet it's your fourth function. So how does that come into play in your life?
I think it's a bit like the masculine intuition, where when it gets triggered and comes out, it is quite masculine and firm. And I can be very assertive when I think a value has been crossed. This whole other side comes out. But on a normal moment-to-moment basis, it's harder for me to process what am I feeling. I can usually tell, I'm upset, I'm angry, sad. But why? I'm still looking for what are the reasons. I still want to justify it before I'll accept it. So I still see my feeling as kind of something outside of me that I require a justification for. I don't have it integrated as, oh, this is me. So it is kind of weird where it is very strong, but I feel it's like it's over there. It's not me.
Yeah. So you don't have access to it unless you get triggered by an event or somebody.
Well. Not very well.
Can you maybe share a story when you were triggered and you were able to kind of access it briefly?
Well, one example would be I was in a group where personality came up and somebody asserted that it was better to be extroverted than introverted. And I know a lot of introverted friends, and immediately that value, no, you can't tell those people they shouldn't be introverted. And I became quite forceful, drew the line in the sand, no, and the whole nice, soft, feminine thing just went out the window. But I can still hear the TE voice in the back of my head going, you got to make sure this is reasonable or they won't accept it. And you should really rein this in because you're not going to get any validation. So it's very stressful to me when it does come out. I become very certain in my beliefs, but it's at odds with my TE and it makes me very stressed inside.
Now, do you think when they said that that you shouldn't be an introvert, do you feel like you were maybe attacked a little bit because your animals has sleep and consume in it, making you technically an introvert, an introverted ESTJ?
At the time, I really wasn't sure what I was,
Yeah.
but I knew for sure that some of my friends were introverted. So I took myself out of that and just focused on my friends and my other friends. I've got friends on both sides here. They all have a place. Yes.
So they're very important to you, and you felt like your friends shouldn't be attacked because they're good people, and
Yes.
you
I
like
guess
them a
I
lot.
was protecting their identities.
Yes, but also because you like them. So like
True.
like,
Yeah.
introvert feeling is like what you like, right? Like, so I like them. How dare you say that? Kind of like.
Yeah, that's probably true. If I didn't have any introverted friends, I may not have cared so much. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a good experiment.
It would have been.
Um, so you have a blast first. Can you
Yes.
just talk about how you use that in your day-to-day life?
Blast is great, in my opinion. I love getting started on things. That's a wonderful feeling for me. Definitely get a high from using that savior animal. The quickly deciding, yes, I have enough information, let's make a decision, let's act on it. I really enjoy that. And I certainly enjoy explaining things to other people, helping them reach the understandings. Yeah.
And you have play last, and do you think that's accurate? Do you really?
I do. That's tough. Particularly as a lead TE. So my savior TE is only being used by one of my animals instead of both of them. It's hard having play be last. I don't have the energy to go back and forth with the tribe to the degree that my TE would like to do. So there's a tension there.
Do you have any friends or family members that are ESTJ like you that do have high play? From what you can see.
I don't think so. I enjoy being around people who are high play because I feel like it draws it out of me and it makes it easier for me to engage in that. And it's fun. Play is fun.
Yeah.
But I don't think I know anybody who's also an ESTJ with that.
I can give you a concrete example of someone that has play last. So my youngest sister, I'm not my youngest sister, sorry. My middle sister has play last. And
Uh-huh.
so me, my girlfriend, and my youngest sister, we all have high play. It's within our first or second function, first or second animal. And
Wow.
we'll have this big play conversations where everyone's just laughing, and there's a big joke, and everyone's throwing gasoline to the fire and making the joke an even bigger joke.
Yeah.
Then out of nowhere, my sister would play last, would blast something and start teaching us scientific concepts, and that just ruins the vibe of the play, and everyone's just quiet and it's awkward, and so that's what I think what play last looks like, and for me, like,
Yeah.
you seem to have some access to play. That's why I'm a little bit like.
Well, I think that's because I am Savior TE. So Dave and Shannon have said that since it's connected to my first Savior animal, it will be easier for me to access it than somebody where maybe it isn't. And I have spent the last couple of years actively trying to work on it. I didn't know it was play at the time, but I knew that there was this synergy between people, and my natural mode of communication was not working with that, and trying to see, well, what is it that they're doing, and trying to copy it so I could fit in better.
Have you ever had a tidal wave with that play last that you can recall?
Continually. With play being last, I find I am inclined to spend more time thinking about things, or consuming in new information instead of working things out. Following through is difficult, and it's hard for me to keep up with relationships. It's easy for me to start it, but to continue it on is hard. Thankfully, my best friends check in with me. They message me. Otherwise, I may have lost those friends along the way because that's hard for me.
And do you enjoy the fact that everyone is the one initiating kind of like those relationships?
It definitely makes me feel more secure because I do know they chose to reach out to me. I have a very hard time interjecting myself in somebody's life. I feel like I'm intruding and I don't want to do that.
So do you think that's because of your introverted feeling, your fourth function as your main demon? It's like, you know how David Chan kind of talks about, you know, introvert feelings all about how much you like yourself, your self-love in a sense. Is that is that like a feeling of I'm not good enough to be a part of the other people's lives, kind of?
Probably, yeah. I think that's part of not having a strong sense of my identity as part of me. I also suspect maybe it's part of being the double feminine, where I'm not going to push on the tribe. I think it's probably a combination of things.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate with like the double feminine and also the low introvert feeling. What about your introvert sensing? It's because it's feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a tendency to kind of maybe change what you recall back in the past? Is it kind of movable or is it set in stone where that?
No, I would say it's pretty consistent. The problem is I have trouble accessing the memory. I may have to, like, if an event comes up that requires me to remember something, it may not come immediately to mind. It may have to come up to mind over the next couple of days. I have trouble. I mean, on the one hand, it's great because I get to rewatch TV shows because I totally forget what happened. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But it is hard in day-to-day life. I have a hard time keeping track of things. And I feel like I have the desire to organize the sensory because of the SI, but because it's not masculine, I have a harder time actually following through on that.
So do you organize, how do you organize your SI, for example?
Well, like I might come up with a schedule for the day.
Yeah.
But I'm then inclined to be quite movable with my schedule. Probably some hijacking from that masculine NE.
Yeah.
Spur of the moment things. I don't experience it that way, but I think logically that's probably what's happening. And so that's difficult. I have a hard time actually following through on my schedules.
Is it because you have feminine extrovert thinking also? So if the tribe wants to do something else, you're like, okay, why not? Let's.
Oh, yes. my almost 8-year-old is very opinionated, particularly on what he would like to eat. And if I haven't decided already what to make for dinner and he has an idea, well, okay, fine, spaghetti it is.
You're pretty flexible in that sense then.
Why not? One less battle.
What about your partner? What is his personality type, would you say?
He always tested in Myers-Briggs as INTP, and you would recognize him as that. We suspect, though, that in OP, he's probably NETI, but with consume sleep as his first two animals, blast last. So he does come across as quite introverted. But he definitely has the observer freakouts that I don't have. So we think it's probably the NETI, not TINE.
And so you think he's an ENTP then? If he's NETI?
Yeah. Yes. Just a very introverted one.
A very introvert ENTP, and he is scared of being controlled by someone.
Yes, he does not appreciate other people controlling him when it comes to, you know, the things that he cares about, like in this TI and NE realm. When it comes to things like what do we have for dinner, you know, the sensory, well, he is no opinion on that, and he would much rather that I just decide.
So let's talk about your you being a double observer then.
Okay.
Do you have how does that feel like, or how does it apply into your life, having that relative balance between control and freedom?
Well, it's something I really didn't see in myself until Dave and Shannon pointed it out, because, to me, it was just normal. What really was, the big thing to me was the decider issues. But they pointed out how I handle the chaos quite well with the kids. And now they pointed out, I can see that better, where like we went out to eat and my son spills his water on me, and I can process that and roll with it and just keep going. Whereas my husband, server, if his computer doesn't work the way it's supposed to, it's a huge deal.
So he'll definitely freak out if his computer's not working.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there going, you're overreacting. Not a big deal. Worst case, you just shut it down, turn it back on, no problem. So it's been very helpful to realize, well, I must be doing that with people.
Yeah.
Overreacting.
You know what's really interesting about you, Katie, is that it sounds like you have the most balanced ESTJ personality, because having that feminine TE and that feminine SI and that masculine NE and the masculine FI, it almost seems like you can access the demons,
yes,
better than your counterparts, like.
Yes, I think so. I think it's kind of like some people say, where, well, and I'm a glass lizard too, like that FI is double activated there at the bottom. And that makes it really hard early on, because I can see them. I can tell there's something going on over there, and that it's not in balance with the rest of me. But supposedly, eventually, that means I will even out quite nicely.
I don't quite understand what a glass lizard is. Can you explain that to me?
Well, because in a typical ESTJ, your TE would be drawn on from both of your savior animals. And so your savior animals and your savior function would be working together. But my TE is only being used by one of my savior animals, and the other one is using my FI. So that creates this dynamic where I do have access to both ends relatively well compared to some versions. Yeah. So they call that a glass lizard, because it looks like something, but it might actually be something else. It's harder to type.
Yeah, it must have been a nightmare to type you, because you
They didn't have any problem with it, but I did. I struggled for years. I've been in Myers-Briggs since I was 16, and I just circulated through all of the types. It's like, I have no idea. I can see them all. I don't know which ones.
Which ones did you think you were?
I had settled on ESFJ.
I see.
And I didn't know if I would stay settled on that, because, feminine with a TE, give me a good reason and I'll consider something else. But that's where I was. So I think that's actually fairly close, considering I do have so much FI and a feminine TE.
So I want to talk about your middle animals now, because I think, just based on our conversation where your FI is being double activated, right? I think that's very fascinating, because when you're using your sleep, you're using your SI and then your FI, right? And then when you're consuming information, you're doing it for yourself, right?
Yes.
So with your NE and FI. So can you talk about that for now? Maybe like talk about like the kind of books that you like to read that you're doing for you.
Oh, well, I love reading self-help books. I've enjoyed that since I was 16 too. It's part of why I got into Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
I love learning how do, the mind and the psyche work and everything. But it's definitely for me. Now, if I run into somebody else, I have no problem blasting it to them.
Yeah.
But I do it because it was interesting to me, or it was something that I wanted explained for myself. I'm very interested in self-growth, trying to pull myself together better. And yeah, so I do a lot of that, but I also do a lot of consuming just because I like it. So a guilty pleasure would be watching Survivor. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't get a lot of people interaction, but I can kind of satisfy my TE's need for a tribe by watching some TV drama where there's lots of people, and I just consume that in because it makes me feel good.
I think one of your comments earlier really helped me understand what feminine SI is really like. You know, when you mentioned that you like to watch the same shows because you forgot what happened, and I have this like issue with my I have this issue with my girlfriend where she's an ENFP like me, but she has feminine SI, right? And she tends to watch the same shows over and over again. She will cycle between Friends and The Office and this Kim's Convenience. I don't know if you heard of that show.
No, I haven't.
And so basically she would cycle between what's the other one? How I Met Your Mother. So,
yeah.
So she would cycle between those 4 shows over and over again. And I'm like, why are you watching this? You've seen this already, you know, because I have masculine SI, right? And then I'm like, oh my God. But then I understand it now because of how you explained it to me. You know, like I forgot what happened.
Yeah, particularly those shows, they're so long.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the end, who knows what happened in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're great too because, at least for me, it really feeds into that sense of having a tribe that I know and I'm comfortable with because I've gotten to know those characters.
Oh.
And so then I like coming back to the show and it's like, oh, these are people that I already know, I already have relationships with, and I just get to live some more life with them that I totally forgot about.
Oh my God, that's so interesting because my girlfriend has obsession with kind of like people that she already knows. Like for her, making a new relationship is so much harder than you know, maintaining the current ones that she has. And she always tells me that watching the same shows over and over again gives her that sense of comfort. Now she couldn't explain to me why it gives her that sense of comfort, but you just kind of explained that perfectly. You feel like you've known those people already. They're part of your tribe.
It's home. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so gold. I'm gonna go like talk to her about that later.
Rediscovering a series that I used to love or something. I just get so excited. It's like, oh, all those emotions and everything that I've had, now I get to have them again. It's great.
Do you forget about the emotions that you had again? Because introvert sensing is all about recalling the past, right?
It's about organizing the sensory, which involves your memories of the past. Yeah.
Yes.
I will. Yeah, unless I am kind of triggered by seeing the book or something, I kind of forget. Even what did I used to be, I can kind of lose track of, and I kind of focus on here's where I am now, and my husband has to remind me that, yeah, this is growth. You used to be over here, and now you're over here. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I kind of lost touch with that.
So as long as you have someone to remind you, it's okay. It's gonna work.
Thank you.
So you have sleep second.
Yes.
So how does that affect things? Because it sounds like, okay, let's say you use your consume and you're consuming stuff for yourself, right?
Yes.
Would you then use sleep afterwards? Because if sleep is second, then it seems like consume would be coming before sleep. So I'm a little bit confused now at when sleep comes in to play.
Part of that is, I think, being the third animal, consume is what I do as my hobby. So I do that, you know, when I'm stressed. It's something I enjoy doing. But sleep is something I am more dedicated to. It's kind of always going on. I'm always processing what happened and re-going over it. And when I experience something new, taking that back through the things I've experienced before and processing it again. And that's just kind of an ongoing thing all the time. I'm not even always aware of it.
Can you just maybe walk me through how that processing how that processing works. Like what do you see when you process, or what happened? Is it step by step in a chronological order when it happens, or like?
Often I'm replaying a social experience. So like a conversation or even a series of social events, if it was a larger, thing over time, an issue, and just replaying what happened, all of that double feminine sensing that I do, replaying through all of that and replaying through how did I feel and what could I have done, and just constantly going back through that. And then anytime I make, a new realization of, oh, that's why that bothered me. That's why, then that helps me, I guess, kind of move on better after I've sorted it and figured it out. I feel like sleep process is very similar to counseling. I've been to counseling some where they help you kind of basically sleep out loud, think through things, and what did you think about that? What did you feel about that? And that's just kind of always going on. Not to diminish counseling. I still think sleep saviors should do that too, but I think it's a similar process.
So basically the conclusion that you're trying to come after when you are using sleep is how you feel about the situation.
I think it's why.
Like why something happened?
Why did I feel that way about it? Or why did it happen? Or, yeah, I think probably because N is a demon. I think it's probably the whys that I'm kind of looking for. I know what, so that's what I'm reviewing. I'm reviewing the what, but why is the mystery.
Can you maybe tell me a story when you did figure out the why during that sleep, that processing, when you were processing something?
If I had masculine S, this would be easier. You think for a minute.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Well, okay, so I just realized today, this is a dynamic that happens a lot with my husband and I. I will tell him something. He mentioned putting something on top of the bookcase, and I was like, well, you can't do that because that one wobbles. And he was like, why? And to me, why is irrelevant. It wobbles, therefore just don't do it. And so him asking it, I take as an attack. Like, he's asking me, what did you do making it wobble? And I finally just realized he's a savior N. He cares about the why, not the what. So that's why he asked. It had nothing to do with what I'm assuming. And so just because I'm always replaying these things and replaying the stuff that I've learned, eventually they interlocked. And I realized, that's what's going on. And then it helps me try to break that cycle. Not always very successfully, partially because I forget what I learned. But there you go.
So is it more often than not now, like that wobbling bookcase you were mentioning, that it doesn't bother you that much anymore because you're aware that your husband's just looking for the why? It's not a personal attack. It's just that he's just curious why it's wobbling. Or are you still kind of like
I'm sorry, you were breaking up and I missed most of that. Could you say that again?
So basically you mentioned that you realize from your processing that your husband is not trying to attack you when he asks the why. It's more like he's just obsessed with the reason why it was moving, and it has nothing to do with you at all. It's completely objective. Now, do you remember that more often than not now, since you've learned that lesson that like he likes?
Well, that one was today, so we shall see.
Okay.
But yes, it does help. But I do find that I often have to make these connections more than once because I'll forget. Yeah. And listening to you play back what I said, I realized I am interpreting it as an attack because I'm a savior DE. I am assuming this is a personal thing. And I think that I do tend to do that still. That's very hard for me to catch, that I am taking something personal that had nothing to do with it. I do that all the time.
What is it about Savior DE that takes things personal when someone says why? Because this is not the first time I've heard of this, so I'm really curious.
Well, to me, if I were to say why, it very well could be an insinuation of, well, why is that? What did you do? To me, I could say that as meaning the same thing. So projecting that onto somebody else is part of it. But then I also think it's just the insecurity with the tribe. He's not validating me directly, therefore, why not assume he's attacking?
So if he goes to you and says, "Hey Katie, this is not a personal attack. I'm just really curious. Why is the bookcase wobbling?"
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Oh, I see. So a lot of it is a miscommunication. So I see. So
and my husband is almost definitely blast last. He is not going to come to me and say all those words. He's just going to say, why? And that's it.
Okay,
There's plenty of room for me to fill in that missing information however my freak out wants to.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's terrible. So okay, so what you just described to me it's mind blowing because my girlfriend has blast last, and she oftentimes when she's speaking to an ESTJ coworker, she'll often ask the question why, and then she'll notice they'll get upset at her, and she'll think, why are they upset? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not trying to attack them. I'm just curious why they're doing it the way. And so I'm gonna tell her what you just said to me, but I don't know if she will do it because she has blast last like your husband.
Yeah, it's a problem. But the advantage of him being blast last is he is definitely high in consume, and he has no problem listening to me blast all about my day when he gets home. So there's always a fair trade somewhere in it.
So at least you feel heard.
Yes.
Yeah. I see. So it's I see. Oh man, that's good. I need to go think about that because I just learned so much from you today. Just from I think the biggest lesson I had so far was why someone with feminine SI would keep watching the same shows over and over again, and now why someone that is an ESTJ, like I feel like I should be taking notes, like why ESTJ feels like they're being attacked when someone asks them why. So okay, so I want to learn more about that.
I mean, it could just be me. But...
There's no way it's just you because like my girlfriend reported this to have happened to her every time she speaks with someone an ESTJ, and I think it's just a pure coincidence now that I'm talking to one and you're explaining to me why it's happening, and I'm like I'm seriously mind blown right now just from.
Well, it's great because it's also validation to me that I'm not the only one out there that does this.
No, like, there's so many of your your type that's doing this. So that's so fascinating. Now let's talk about your. I'm still mind blown, so I'm just trying to think about that. Do you have any questions for me as an ENFP that you've always been curious about, like learning about?
That's NE, right?
Yeah.
That is, I mean, even though it's not my last demon, it is only single activated for me. It's not one that I feel like I can see my FI a lot better. Yes. So I'm curious, NE, what's going on there?
NE's, it's a lot of different things. So like the first one is it's having multiple interests. I don't, for example, like someone that with NI, for example, when it comes to their health and fitness, if they were to choose kind of like how they are going to exercise, they're going to pick kind of like one area to focus on. So my sister is an INFJ, and she has, I'm almost certain she has masculine NI.
Okay.
And when we talk about fitness, she only does yoga. That's it. And then, and I work in the fitness industry, right? So I know which kind of fitness that you should be doing to maximize health benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you should be doing some resistance training with weights, and you should be doing some form of cardio, and you should be doing some form of relaxation like yoga. So and I'll tell that to my sister, hey, you should be doing weights because you are a woman, and eventually you are going to hit menopause. And when you hit menopause, your bone density is going to drop dramatically, and you're going to shrink, and you're more likely to get fractures. And in order to prevent that from happening, you need to do weights. Then my sister just looks at me, shakes her head, no, yoga. So, and I'm like, oh my God, and so it
really narrowed in.
Yeah, it's so narrowed in to just one thing, yoga. The answer to fitness is yoga. Like,
gotcha.
how do you be healthy? Yoga. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not how that's not how it is. Like, you need to learn how to do everything. Weights, cardio, and yoga is good, but that's just one component.
Sure.
So that's kind of like an example of NE, but then it goes more deeper than that. So I'll give you another example. So I had an interview with an ISFP, Julian. I don't know if you've seen the interview that I had with him. Probably not, but he was asking me the question, okay, as someone that's using NI and he likes to lift weights, he will do massive research on the best way to optimize resistance training. And he'll have a massive system on how to do it.
Oh, wow.
And then I said to him, what is your system for your nutrition? And what is your system for your sleep? And what is your system for your stress reduction? And he didn't have one for the other three, just because he was using NI. And it was a very fascinating conversation, because an NI user would definitely master that one area really, really well, while someone with NE might not 100% master that one area. Maybe we'll only do 80% of it, but
yeah,
we're tapping into 80% of every aspect, where we have sleep, nutrition, stress reduction, and exercise. And even within the exercise, there's even more variety, and there's variety after variety after variety.
So I can see how that's filtering through in my life then, where I do a lot of jumping around, but I'm sure with me, with the SI, there is this intrinsic fear of new. It's very hard for me to do something that I haven't done before. So if it is a new concept that I'm reading about, if I'm going to apply it, I'm only probably going to apply one little part. Very narrowed down, organized sensory part. But then I do enjoy reading about different concepts. So I can see how that's kind of coming in with my consume, but in my actual life that I'm living, I like to have things be fairly similar, but the changes I make are across a variety of different topics. They're just small changes at a time.
Well, I found some things very fascinating too with SI and SE. So whenever I have a client that I perceive to be an SE user versus someone that is an SI user, I noticed there's a big difference on how they like having me as their personal trainer. So I'll give you an example. Someone that has an SI, someone who is an SI user, likes to do the same exercise over and over and over again. And if they want to make a change in an exercise, they want a very small incremental change, like maybe just one exercise after 6 months. And they're okay with it, but you can't have too many changes. One new change is okay, but too many, no. not acceptable. You know, it's gonna stress them out. However, whenever I have a client
No. Yeah.
who has strong SE, they get so upset at me when we've done the same exercise the following week.
Oh, they're ready to move on. Oh goodness.
They
No.
want, so because I teach group fitness, so I teach circuit training, right?
Okay.
I notice I will set up the circuits.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have masculine SI, I actually like to do the same exercise because I think that you shouldn't change your exercise all the time. You know, it takes time for you to build up and master something. And if you keep changing it, you're not going to build up, you know,
Sure.
muscle or strength in that one field. So I always, and it's everything in Myers-Briggs too. It has the, you know, FE, right? So how much does the tribe like it, right? Versus what works for the tribe. And it's so difficult to run a group fitness class because I have all sorts of different personalities that enter here. And one
Yeah.
person will tell me, it's like, hey, so someone that's, let's say, an ESFJ who has strong SI will come up to me and say, hey, love the exercise, love the energy of the class, right? Because we did the same thing, and then I entertain people. Then someone that has strong SE might come up to me and said, we just did this exercise last week. How come we did it again? You know, can we change it? And obviously, I'm gonna go upset someone in a tribe, regardless of what I do.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You know, so that,
Unfortunately.
what's that?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would love to keep them all happy all the time, but you know, I have little kids. That doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, you know, you have a strong TE, right? And you're trying to make sure that everything works for everyone. But what if the thing that works for everyone doesn't work for everyone? Because
Yes.
there's definitely a direct conflict between SI and SE, you know?
Oh goodness. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a massive nightmare. Yeah.
I even noticed recently that we had finished the Netflix show that we were watching, and we were trying to find a new one, and all the new ones we found, they only had one season, and they were short season. And so in the space of a month, we've watched like 3 or 4 different shows, and it's starting to really bother me. Like, no, we got to find something that has like 5 seasons so it will be the same. I can't handle this much change.
Oh, so you want a sense of completion before you
I
switch.
just want things to hold still for a little while because I start to anticipate what we're going to watch and get back, I guess, kind of connected with that tribe. And then that tribe's gone. We've got this new one now, and I forgot it was this one, and it's kind of jarring for a few days. And then I adjust to that tribe, and now it's gone. I'm so over it. Give me something long.
I'm curious more about SI. Do you like to eat the same kind of food all the time, or do you like a variety of food?
I love going to Taco Bell and ordering my bean burrito.
And do you always order the same food every time you go to Taco Bell?
And I had the extra large burrito. Oh yeah. Why risk not liking your food by trying something else? Get the one you know you like. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I have no, I was just curious because you have feminine SI, right? So it's flexible. So what if someone goes up to you and tells you, why did you try this other food instead? Would you try it? Someone in your tribe?
Probably, because I'm not going to say no to the tribe unless I really, really don't like something. If I already know I don't like it, I'm not going. I don't like fish. I'm not going to try something with fish in it unless I absolutely have to.
So that's when your FI would kick in. If someone says, fish.
No fish.
No. No fish. Okay.
But there's actually very few foods that I like. I'm very picky in general. But there aren't very many that are on the blacklist, like fish. So if I'm at somebody's house, I mean, even if it's fish, I'm going to eat it because that's what you do to be polite.
Okay, so I have masculine SI, and
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So because I have masculine SI, even though I am an ENFP and it's my 4th demon function, I do exactly the same as you.
Do you?
I go to the same places and I order the same food for those exact same places every single time. And
How funny.
and I've been doing it for at least 7 years, to the point where I go there and the owner of the restaurant or
No.
the place knows who I am, and they know exactly my exact specification.
Yep.
Yeah. But my girlfriend has feminine SI and she always tries something different. So I find that very...
Oh, no. I mean, I do get tired of the same thing, but I'll just go to a different restaurant and I'll order the thing that I like at that restaurant.
Yes, I do that. So basically you would eat the same food, but if you get sick of it, you just won't go back there for a week or two. But then you'll order it again later and it's good again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So it seems like your FI, even though it's your fourth function, it doesn't seem like it's actually the one that you have the most trouble with. It sounds like your NE is the one that you have the most trouble with.
I think so. Yeah. I feel like it keeps me from staying on track the way I would like to, but it's also, a bit of a mystery. I feel I have a lot of anxiety about the future and what might happen and what could happen. And I see all the possibilities, all the bad possibilities of what could happen. And that's something that's really hard for me to, take control of in any way.
So, question number one, have you ever been mistyped as an ISTJ then as a result? Because
ISTJ is what I started out as in Myers-Briggs. Yeah. And then from there, INTJ for several years. And then after that, it was all over the place.
I see. Now, the weird thing about your extrovert intuition is that it's masculine. So when it's masculine, it means you're more immovable with it, or you are more confident with using it. So even though your NE is demon, do you have confidence in using it, or are you actually not confident? Because it's a big contradiction.
Yeah, it is. I am confident in it in the moment. When it's running with me, I feel great clarity. But then I kind of, step back into my TE and SI, and then I don't know what the reasons are, and I get very confused and just don't know. And I run into that a lot with the kids, the little kids trying to figure out their sleep schedules. It's very important that you keep track of how much time, and if it's a short nap, then you do this. If it's a long nap, you do that. And then the kid does something that wasn't in the book, and then I don't know what to do. I have a hard time making that jump when I'm weighing the reasons and things. But if my intuition just stomps in and takes off, well then I feel great clarity, just like I do with my FI. I have no problem then, drawing the lines or running with it. But then I step back and I start wondering and get very confused.
Well, extrovert intuition is also improvising, right? So it's like
very well.
Well,
like a moment, like I think I might tap into that some when I'm wanting to blast, like get started on something and start running with it, and an obstacle comes up and I'll say, you know what, I'm not going to SI it right now. And I'll improvise. But it very much has to be like an in the moment thing. If there's any thought that goes into it, then it all shuts down and I just get confused.
I mean, I'll give you a concrete example of how you can kind of improvise in a moment, right? So, for example, you're eating meat. Let's say you're eating meat, right? And you have not steak, but like a thin piece of meat. Let's say a chicken. Let's say chicken, like a chicken breast.
Okay. Sure.
And you're eating chicken breast with, let's say, brown rice, and you have some veggies on the side. Now your chicken is a little bit tough, and you don't have a knife to cut it with. So you would improvise in the moment by cutting it with a spoon. Have you ever done something like that before?
To some degree, yes. Even in my mind, I'm going, well, first thing you need to do is turn the spoon around, and then you can use the hard semi-pointy end to try to.
Oh, the other side.
Yeah, so I mean, it is there. I do have some access to it, but I do have a tendency to feel quite stressful in those situations, particularly when it's a plan that didn't turn out right. And cooking is one of those. Cooking can be quite unpredictable, and it's very frustrating to me. Like steak, my steaks are always undercooked or overcooked, and I can't figure it out, and that's very frustrating to me. It's not something I can just roll with. It's something that I no longer try to do.
It's so you don't try to improvise your cooking. So for example, let's say your steak is undercooked, you just don't leave it in the oven a little bit longer, like put it back in the oven maybe, or
Well,
fryer, or
I've usually been doing it on the skillet, and I have tried, but then either it gets overcooked or I have tried putting it in the microwave, and that just, yeah. And then I just kind of give up. Like I might try a couple of things, and then I'm just done, frustrated, done.
yeah. Especially because it's also your demon, right? So it's gonna cause a lot of stress when you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if the first other thing I try works, well then fine, we can do that. But to sit there and keep coming up with new ways to try, actually, that reminds me, I tend to then start to get this feeling where I feel like if I have to try too hard to make something happen, it just wasn't meant to be. And if I found from experience that if I keep pushing on that and force it to happen, I usually just get extremely upset and frustrated, and it didn't actually work out in the end anyways. So I have a tendency now to quit probably way too soon. I think that's because it's a demon in me, I think. Yeah.
Do you get any physical sensations when you get upset? Like your neck starts stiffening up, or your
it depends on what kind of upset. Anxiety is the one I feel the most, and I feel it right here. Even what I was just describing, I was feeling my chest was getting tighter. It's not going to work. We should just quit now, find something we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anger is actually an emotion I'm more comfortable with, which I feel really bad about saying, but I don't usually have physical sensations with that. Yeah. But anxiety, that really gets to me.
I had I don't know if it's an introverted sensing tidal wave or whatnot a few days ago, but it definitely caused me massive amount of stress. So I run a travel blog, and I write articles on different travel destinations that I've been to, and I have pictures and I have the text and whatnot. So last year I decided to web hosting, and I had to transfer all my articles and images from one web hosting to another. Now, after the transfer, it was a big nightmare for me because there were so many sensory details involved when it comes to the transfer.
I can imagine.
And when it was finally finished, I was so happy. Until a few days ago, when I actually looked back, because I don't take the time to kind of reflect back into the old articles that I wrote. So for some reason, I decided to go look back at some of the old articles I wrote. Only for me to find out a lot of the pictures were broken. They were missing.
Oh.
And it's at least 20 articles where there's so many pictures missing. And not only are they missing, I don't remember which picture did I put for those articles. So I literally had to go to my Dropbox account and start digging through all individual one picture at a time and kind of see, is this the picture that goes well with this? And I just wanted to kill myself. And I was feeling tightness in the back of my neck right here as I was feeling the massive, I don't know if it's anxiety, just frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that happens to you, would you get stressed out? Like, or
yeah, I mean, I think that'd be frustrating for anybody, but I won't get, it wouldn't be like an explosive kind of a thing. It would be more of a simmer, where I'm aware of, well, I'm just going to have to do this, or I very quickly jump to seeing the other side of, well, I could just do that. But yeah, I mean, I would not be happy to have to redo all that work, and I would probably put it off. That sounds awful. But yeah, I'd get over it.
But you also have blast first, right? So you have no troubles just jumping right in and start fixing it.
Yeah, not really. Not a,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think
what holds me back often, I was realizing in a post earlier, is when I don't have all the information I need to get started, but consume is my third animal. I don't really feel like going out and getting that information sometimes either. And then I'm just stuck. I can't. Yeah. Because new is still scary. So it's very easy for me to blast and get started if it's something I already have enough familiarity with. But if it's something I haven't done before, like recording the video to submit to Dave and Shannon, that was more intimidating than most things. And my battery died partway through. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to figure out how to splice these videos together. But I could just assume there's got to be a way to do that. I can't be the first person that's happened to.
no.
And I didn't let it get me too worked up. But I guess that's something that observers might have been more stressed about.
Yeah. I have a question to you in regards to you being a double observer. So
Okay.
I don't remember which video that Dave and Shan showed this in, but I remember them mentioning that double observers have issues with pain more than fear. Can you relate to that statement?
The pain of people is just, yeah, it's awful. Like the anxiety I feel about the future and stuff, to me, that's just life. I'm anxious. I've always been anxious. I just expect to be anxious. No big deal. But to write a comment on Facebook and then somebody disagreed with me, and like now we've got huge stress hormones going. The pain of these people might not like me and maybe I was wrong, and yeah, that's way more consuming.
So you feel like you're getting attacked essentially.
Oh yeah,
There's like the pain of being attacked, and
life is on the line.
and
Oh yeah.
what is it about the tribe not liking you that really bothers you the most? Like what is it? What is the kind of the obsession with the tribe and making sure that everyone is happy with you? That's
I've tried to dig down to see if that's pointing to something. Like, are you familiar with the Enneagram
yeah.
with the 9 types?
Are you type 9 or what is your type?
It's focused on what are your fears, motivating things. So I don't know. I haven't been back since discovering my OP, so I'm hoping now maybe I could find it better. But I remember then looking through, and it's very hard for me to see what could be the fear behind the fear of people, because the fear of people is just so massive in and of itself. It's hard to look below that. It's like, from a logical point of view, there's literally nothing those people on Facebook can do to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, literally nothing.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I don't make a good impression, I might cease to exist, basically.
Like you'll disappear or you'll die or
Yeah, just fade away into nothing.
that's so fascinating. Like, and you've never figured out why that happens.
Not really. No, that seems to be the root of it. I will just fade away. Like I need people interacting with me for me to feel like I'm alive.
So it's like the other people are your batteries essentially, and every time they interact with you, you're kind of getting recharged.
Yes. Well, assuming it's a good interaction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Although even the bad ones, I mean, at least, we were interacting. It's, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Yeah, doing this is kind of combines my heavens and my hells because I love this chance to blast. It's awesome. And I love this chance to face with a tribe member. That's great. But the internet's a huge place and could easily get negative feedback or no feedback at all. And that's quite scary from the vulnerable point of view. I guess that would be the FI. So, yeah.
I think it's because you have double FI that at least you're aware.
Well, yeah, definitely aware.
Because I think if I were to speak to another ESTJ, they won't even know why.
Oh, yeah?
Or what's causing the freak out to begin with, right? Like
Yeah.
they won't even know that it's because they feel like they're gonna disappear if the tribe hates on them. They don't even know that they don't even know that part exists. At least you're up to that part. So the next part for you is to figure out, why do I think I'm gonna disappear?
Yeah, and I guess that makes sense with the sleep. Yeah, and how to counter that. I mean, it makes sense that if I took that FI in and had a more confident feel of who I am, that then I wouldn't need other people to feel like I exist. That, I mean, logically that makes sense. But how to actually do that, yeah, it's a little more difficult.
Have you ever tried to do like a selfish day? Like, today it's only for Katie, no one else, and I'm only gonna do what I like.
That more than you would think.
Oh, okay.
Partially because my husband is like consume sleep. He's not exerting a lot of tribe demands. So it's quite easy for me to then go ahead and do whatever it is that I wanted. So I don't identify as much with the people who are like, you know, saying how they need some time to go away and do what feels good to them. Like, I have enough access to it. It's like, no, I've been giving to you all day. It is my time. Chris, you take the kids to bed. I'm going to go take a bath. I do that quite a bit. But that doesn't ease the lack of validation I feel in the TE. It's just kind of venting the FI a little bit. But even that creates its own anxieties with the TE of, well, what if eventually Chris got upset that I'm doing this? And he never does, but yeah, it's definitely something where I can see I'm aware of it all, but I have not integrated it yet.
So if you were stuck in like a deserted island by yourself, would that be the worst thing ever that can happen? If you were all by yourself and there's no tribe and you were just all alone, and for some reason, let's say I'm gonna use my weird NE here, my NE and FI, okay? So let's say this weird island, for some reason, it has a TV and there's Netflix, and there's enough food, but there's no one. You have no company. Are you gonna be okay, more or less?
That would be a lot easier than being on an island where everybody else formed a tribe and I'm not in it.
So being excluded from the tribe is the worst possible thing. Not so much being alone, but it's so if there's no one else, it's okay. Who cares, right? But like, it's
not awesome because you're not feeding into my TE, but you're also not excluding me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so it's the act of exclusion that you fear the most.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Wow. Well, that's really amazing self-awareness. Actually, you're definitely the.
It's very helpful to me having you ask the questions because blasting is definitely one of the ways I figure things out.
Yeah.
But I think also I've got enough sleep done in the past that the pieces are there, and then if I can blast it, it just kind of clicks.
I see. Oh, so exclusion. So now we have like one word now. It's
That's powerful.
Geez, okay.
I'm gonna have to think about that now. Yeah.
Then now you have to figure out why you don't want to be excluded. Like.
Yeah, and it provides a way out, I think, because then I can define for myself, well, what groups am I a part of? who am I? And then that has its own natural group, I think. I think there might be a way there to, kind of pull in that FI. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
So I'm going to make a random NE theory here. So if you could just humor me for a second.
Sure.
Because you have play last,
Mm-hmm.
and you are afraid of exclusion,
Mm-hmm.
people with play first tend to make friends easily. So they have an abundance of people. And so if they were to be excluded from one group, they'll feel bad, but they know with confidence that they can easily make another group of friends. Or
they have options.
and because they have that skill to and almost innately, that knowingly that they can make another group of friends at any given time. And I know this sounds really bad. They can essentially replace their current tribe with another tribe.
Sure. No, sure.
But they're not afraid of being excluded or being kicked out of a tribe because they know they can have another one at any time. And
I'm so envious right now.
Sorry?
I'm so envious right now.
But does that make sense, kind of like what I'm saying?
Oh, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I don't have that.
So yeah, so I'm just wondering, is it because of like because you place your last and you don't use it that often? I mean, you do have access to it sometimes, but it's
right.
not as often. But
yeah.
it's not something that you do, on a day-to-day basis or every minute of your life.
No. Oh goodness, I can't.
So if you were to be excluded, it would kill you. It would essentially kill you to find another tribe or even build your own tribe, essentially, just because it's so difficult to, like, you almost have to rely on other people to bring you in.
Yeah, and my best friend in high school, I stole from my sister.
What?
She made a friend, and so I got to know her through my sister, so it was kind of safe. And then when I really needed a good close friend, I reached out and kind of claimed her, and my sister kind of moved on, and that was great. And she's still my best friend. We still talk all the time. And then I got to college, and this girl decided I was going to be her friend. And she showed up to class early and saved me a seat. We had lots of classes together, and she's my other best friend, and we're still friends. And then I got married and moved to a new state, and I'm like, I don't know how to make friends. I don't know what you're supposed to do here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much, it's been hard. And that's why I've then tried to learn how to play. I've tried to throw the ball back and forth with people, and I think I've made good progress in like a more surface level friendship. I've got a lot more connections than I used to, than a couple of years ago. But still trying to make something go deeper so I can have my one good close friend in person. Yeah, it's hard. And so yeah, it feels very life-threatening if I feel like I'm going to be excluded.
I think it's also because maybe it's your SI, but you need to feel safe with the known,
Yes.
So venturing out to the unknown and having to use play is one of the most excruciatingly painful thing that you can ever do, from what I can see.
And play gets me in trouble, because if I'm playing, I am not relying on my pre-processed stuff, and I'm not taking the time to sleep on it. And so then if they cross my FI, it really comes out because I'm just throwing the ball. So yeah, that's been quite difficult. And then now I have children, and trying to figure out how do you socialize when you have small kids is totally new, and I'm still having trouble adjusting to that.
Oh my God, that's such a insane kind of like realization here that we're kind of figuring out. Your sister, does she have high play then? And she has no trouble making new friends? Is your sister a social butterfly?
Sure. Like she certainly has some of that tendency. She's moved a few times being a military wife and seems to make friends, but she's also quite a bit of a homebody, so I'm not sure. I think it's really hard typing my own family. Like you just know them so well that it's hard to step back enough to see the general patterns. Yeah.
It's one of my sister, the middle one with low play. I don't know if her best friend also has low play, but her best friend's an INTJ, and her INTJ friend said to her, maybe she has masculine T, I'm not really sure, but she said to her, "You belong to me. You're my friend. You're no one else's friend but mine." And she has trouble. She has trouble socializing with, a lot of other people. So she already has a known friend that she really likes, which is my sister. And maybe because she has masculine T, she claimed her, like, "You're mine." Like,
could be. Yeah. I really enjoyed that my one in college, was claiming me. I mean, she didn't mind if I had other friends, and she had other friends, but claiming me as her special friend. And then I felt confident then when she would introduce me to her other friends. It was like, I don't have to worry about what you guys think because I know I'm in good with her.
yeah. So you have
That was
that, like, you have that anchor. That anchor.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like they describe IPs wanting their security blanket person. I feel like that, except I'm not an IP, so.
Yeah. You know what's really fascinating is we live almost like opposite lives, because I feel very comfortable with the unknown, and the thought of going somewhere new does.
Yeah.
I don't even have a single anxiety that bubbles up in me, the thought of going somewhere new. And
Oh my goodness.
whenever I have a friend that's like an ISTJ or an INFJ or an INTJ, if they want to go somewhere new, they usually have to go with me. Maybe they're using me as their anchor almost, like I'm the known in the unknown. I'm the known in the chaos, and then so even if we go there and they don't know anybody and they can't talk to anybody, that's okay because they can just talk to me. So I don't know if it works that way, but it's, I have a high play, and yeah, and maybe I've always taken my friendships for granted because I feel like I just make friends easily. So, it's.
Good. Somebody needs to.
What's that?
Somebody needs to be able to.
Yeah, but then
I have a hard time making friends.
yeah, but then I have trouble with, the other stuff. Like I have trouble with routine, for example. Like I think it's so boring. Like if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, I just.
Yeah.
So.
There's always an advantage and always a disadvantage.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up this interview, Katie. I have a last. I'm gonna ask you one more thing, which is,
Okay.
what kind of message would you give to any ESTJs out there who is kind of struggling with their identity? Because you have double activated FI,
Yes.
you can use it when you get triggered, and you
Yes.
can use it sometimes. What have you done to like yourself more, and how can other ESTJs use FI more?
Well, what I did recently that helped was I sat down and worked through what are my top 5 values, which might be harder for others, but it was pretty simple for me to sit down and think through that and write them down. But now I'm going over that list every day to remind myself consciously, wait, this is who I am. This is what I care about. It's not just whatever is going on. This is what I care about. And that I do find that is helping me stick to achieving the things that I care about. And then I feel better about myself. So that's helping some, but I don't know. It's not going to be enough. I'm going to have to find more things. But that's been helping.
So this is kind of like one or two steps there, but it's not
Yeah.
the solution, but
No,
it's a steps.
it's something. Yeah.
It's something, yeah.
Let's start.
All right, Katie. Well, thanks for doing this interview with me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care.